The time is now 7:30 p.m. and I would like to call to order the March 22nd, 2023 Downers Grove Public Library Board of Trustees meeting to order. If you could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, they took this over here. They took the I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We acknowledge that the Downers Grove Public Library sits on the unceded, traditional, and ancestral homelands of Native peoples. We honor with gratitude the land itself and the indigenous peoples who have been caretakers of the land throughout generations, past and present. We invite you to learn more about genocide and forced displacement by non-Native settlers and the ongoing injustices against Native peoples. Caitlin, can you proceed with roll call?
Trustee Doherty. Here. Trustee Humphreys.
Here.
Trustee Kuntia. Here. Trustee Nienberg.
Here.
Trustee Sladak.
Here.
President Kagami.
Here. Thank you. On behalf of the trustees, I want to welcome all of you to our meeting. Thank you for your interest in the library. Item number 4 is the approval of minutes.
Everybody's looked at it. I'll move approval.
I second. Oh. All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented. Let's go ahead and do a voice vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. And any abstentions? All right, the February 22nd approval minutes have been approved. Item number 5 is our financial matters.
All right. We are 16.6% through the fiscal year as of the end of February. As you can see on the revenue report, we are still at about 1%. That is as expected, although I do want to draw your attention to the investment income, which is way more than we've had for the last several years. So it's very nice to see at least a little bit of money coming back from our investment returns. So you will see that for the Library Capital Replacement Fund, we are at 32% of budget spent so far this year, and that is actually on track with where we are in our workroom renovation project. And for our general expenditures, we are at 13.4% spent through the end of February. You will, of course, notice that the couple of lines that are out of whack there are the insurance, which is $54.20, and that is because our annual premiums for most of our coverage is due in January, so that is always paid. The bulk of that line is paid out in the first month of the year. And then also on our special legal, $53.23, that's at 59% spent, and that is related to all of our FOIA requests. And that was all I had on the financials.
Julie, we talked before about how the spend isn't linear and giving a percent budget versus percent of year is not really an accurate measurement of how we're doing against budget. Is that still the reason we're not doing that differently? Is that still because of the knowledge science system? Is there any update on how that's progressing?
We finally got through all of the, as of the end of January, we are finally through all of the implementations of all of the modules of Munis. And now we were dealing with the turnover in the village's finance department, where we have been unable to get things like your fund balance report that is normally in your board packet, didn't come until this morning. And so we continue to be hampered in our efforts. We are looking at some other board packets from other libraries and looking at how we can upgrade our financial reporting and our statistical reporting through those packets. it is interesting to see that the one other library that has Munis as their financial software uses the same reports we do. We were hoping that we could find a sample using our software, but we have not identified one yet. So it's on our radar.
Okay.
Any other questions for Julie regarding financial matters?
I'll move to approve the financial matters as presented.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the financial matters as presented, as well as a second. Caitlin, can you proceed with roll call?
Trustee Doherty? Yes. Trustee Humphries?
Yes.
Trustee Quintia?
Yes.
Trustee Greenberg?
Aye.
Trustee Slordak?
Yes.
President Yagami?
Aye. All right, the financial matters have been approved as presented. All right, item number 6 is public comment on agenda items. Do you have any public comments on the agenda items?
I know you know this by now, but my name is Robin Trilop, and I've lived in Downers Grove for more than 30 years. I'm a resident, taxpayer, and devoted library patron, and I've served on the Downers Grove Public Library Foundation Board of Directors since 2017. Via tonight's meeting packet, I was delighted to learn that the library is scheduled to host the Legacy Wall during this coming June's Pride Month. The Legacy Wall is one of many projects by the award-winning Legacy Project, a Chicago-based cultural and educational nonprofit dedicated to researching and promoting the contributions of LGBTQ+ people have made to world history and culture. It's driven by a core of historians, biographers, educators, youth advocates, social activists, and community and business leaders who share a commitment to ending the redaction of LGBTQ+ contributions from our shared human history. The Legacy Wall is a digitally interactive traveling exhibition that features over 125 digitally interactive mini-biographies of LGBTQ+ people throughout history from virtually every walk of life who have contributed in over 20 fields of endeavor. The history of the LGBTQ+ community is largely a forgotten and suppressed history, which this exhibit helps bring to light. The content is international, multicultural, and has been substantially vetted and sourced. It tells the stories behind such important historical and cultural figures as Chicago's own social justice pioneer Jane Addams, Renaissance artist and inventor Leonardo da Vinci, and visual artist Frida Kahlo, who was recently celebrated with an exhibition at the Cleochrome Museum of Art at the College of DuPage. These life stories are educational and enlightening for all audiences, and they help raise awareness of the roles LGBTQ+ people have played in our shared human history. Information which helps to boost the self-esteem of LGBTQ+ youth and has been shown to lessen the incidence of bullying in schools by fostering a culture of mutual respect and tolerance. The goal of the Legacy Wall is to use the powerful lessons of human history to spark conversations in the classroom and around the kitchen table about the ability this knowledge offers to raise social awareness while giving our children hope and all community members a feeling of belonging. This exhibit will help underscore the Downers Grove Public Library's motto that is a place for everyone to discover, grow, play, and learn. Equality Downers Grove is raising the funds to cover the full cost of hosting this exhibit. The Library Board of Trustees is simply being asked tonight to support EQDG's efforts by writing a letter of support. Since the library will present the Legacy Wall as part of its Pride Month programming, not only should the board vote to endorse the letter of support as the exhibit's featured host, it would be incomprehensible not to. At the September 28 Library Board meeting, Trustee Nienberg referenced, quote, the undoubtedly long list of LGBTQ individuals who have led inspiring lives, overcome obstacles, and made valuable contributions to our country and society, close quote, as a source for future inclusive library programming. This is it.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other comments regarding agenda items? All right, so we will move on to item 7, which is public comment on other library business. Do we have any other comments? Next up, we are looking to move the IT presentation up before new business. Do we have a motion for that?
I will motion to
Second. All those in favor of moving the IT presentation to our next agenda item, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And all those abstaining? All right, we'll move on with our IT presentation.
And making that presentation is Paul Regis, our IT manager.
I work in IT. I'm Paul Regis, the IT manager. I've been working here for about 16 years now. Work in IT, obviously, public speaking is like my worst nightmare. If I could do this as an email, I totally would, but it's not professional. But just to give you an idea, I've worked for 16 years, various roles, moved from a desk clerk to a tech assistant, to supervisor, assistant manager, and finally to manager. I'm probably missing a position over there. But no, this has offered me a very unique perspective, just seeing how technology has evolved as well as how patrons use your life. It's been a very, very positive one, and I'm kind of just really, really happy to be part of that. But just to give you a brief idea, a brief history of our IT department, very, very brief. There's essentially two creepy guys in a closet. We're probably about like a good, I don't know, 15, 20 years. Eventually, as things changed, as more usage scenarios came up, we figured out, hey, we need an actual department for this. So we eventually took over a computer help desk. Kind of have our own department now, which is cool and interesting and fun. Yeah, it also has a number of positions with that. So right now we have 13 staff. This includes a manager, assistant manager, computer help desk supervisor, a technology trainer, a media lab coordinator, and 8 computer help desk associates. Manager, I oversee the department, involved with the various projects that I work with other departments on. Assistant manager kind of assists me with that, as well as in my stead when I'm absent. Computer help desk supervisor oversees desk staff, evaluation, training, hiring, things of that nature. Technology trainer pretty much has full reign on all classes offered, any training materials that might be prepared. Media lab coordinator handles the media lab as well as a lot of in-house production. And then we have 8 computer help desk associates who front the desk that we offer and are kind of like our front line in dealing with the various fun questions that come up. We view our responsibilities from 2 distinct perspectives, mainly external and internal customers. So external customers would be the public, the various vendors we work with, our consortium Swan. In that capacity, a lot of the duties are pretty clear. We do have a desk that's front-facing. Patrons will come up, either ask for simple, but how do I get on the email, to I have a new device, how do I use it? Internal customers are mostly library staff. So we'll work with every department on whatever project they might have. We have our grubby little hands in pretty much anything. If it's remotely related technology, they're probably going to come to us for help. We also do utilize a ticketing system. This helps us keep track of updates, any sort of issues that might be going on, as well as projects. We do also manage some of the not so glamorous aspects. That's like server maintenance, network switches, making sure the internet actually works, yelling at Comcast occasionally, as well as the ever-increasing subscriptions and licensing, and I hate Adobe. So some of our external or public-facing duties include helping patrons with library equipment. That includes copiers, public computers, fax and scanning machines, and things of that nature. We do also offer one-on-one help in the form of book and expert sessions. This allows us to dedicate a little bit more time to sometimes more complicated questions, or if someone just needs a little bit more help. That could be someone got a new iPad for Christmas, wants to know how to use it, you can help them set it up, try to explain iCloud to them, all that kind of fun stuff. Anything from that to try and retrieve lost data on like obsolete media. If anyone remembers iOmega zip drives, that was a recent one, which was kind of fun to try to solve. Yeah, it's always interesting, it's always fun. Also, we have a number of times where we'll have to use either translator apps or devices to kind of communicate with people who don't necessarily speak English, which actually surprisingly works pretty well. We also provide a range of technology classes. This can range from intro to Microsoft Office classes, how to use an Android or iPhone, and we recently started offering Photoshop classes, maintaining the media lab, and offering programs that utilize its software and equipment. A lot of view from programs in the past, view from the director's chair, from behind the lens, things of that nature. Just kind of utilize that space as well as the equipment that we have there. After COVID, this kind of transitioned a little bit to more in-house programming as well as assisting with virtual programming offered by other departments. We also do operate and maintain a 3D printing service for patrons. This one's kind of fun just because we're having really random requests. We have one patron that is building a board game. This has been going on for years. I'm kind of interested to see how it's going to turn out because these parts are very interesting looking. But also people who just want like a part for like a refrigerator. They'll come in, we'll try to like match up the specs and print it out. We had some success with that, which is honestly kind of shocking. Also help develop the training paths used for staff. So this could be for individual departments, specific roles like supervisors or managers, and as well as evaluating new training modules, webinars, as well as databases that are used in the library. Also, we do provide a wide range of devices that are part of our Anything Important collection. So this includes laptops, wireless hotspots for internet connectivity, DSLR cameras. We recently released some more advanced laptop kits like MacBook Pros that have Adobe Suite on there for content creation, as well as some random ones like photography, lighting, and backdrop kits, and the ever popular graphing calculators. So as far as internal duties, as far as duties that we perform for inside the library with other departments, a lot of that is just diagnosing and fixing the random issues that come up with computers and devices. That was pretty much going to be about one sentence explanation of what we do, but I figured I should probably for a little bit more. We also develop relationships with vendors to ensure that we get timely updates, service calls, and equipment orders. Right now it's just pestering them because everyone is kind of dropping the ball there. We do partner with area organizations such as the People's Resource Center and the Downers Grove Township. This also allows us to expand the number of technology classes that we do offer and reach a wider range of the community. Our technology trainer, Annie Jalgiski, has been kind of instrumental in forming those partnerships. It's been very, very, very popular, and it's worked very well for us. We do offer tech outreach to area assisted living facilities as well. This includes like Lacey Creek, Emmanuel, places like that. Our computer desk supervisor, Lauren, handles most of that, and she kind of has like her dedicated fan base that wait for her to come. 90% of it is probably just want to talk about gossip, but there's a little bit of tech in there. We also work closely with other departments on just really random technology needs. It's going to be just as simple as like setting up a laptop for a program, trying to find a way to do hybrid programming for an event that might have both virtual and in-person attendees, and yeah, coordinating with outside vendors such as like the library's HVAC system, things like that, just to make sure our network is configured correctly for that. We also do manage the library's voice over IP phone system. Our assistant manager, Max, has kind of been learning in and outs of that. It's not a fun system to learn, but thankfully he's got his hands on it because I don't want to touch it. We also do manage the various subscriptions and services that we administer, so that can include the Adobe software, Microsoft licenses, Google Workspace, things like that. And then recently it's been assisting with FOIA process, so that includes kind of doing the bulk of finding emails that might be related to requests, narrowing search terms, combining all of those, and then also like removing any duplicates. It's a very fun process. Yeah. So some recent trends and takeaways. Honestly, a lot of these have been impacted by COVID. When we first opened back up, I mean, everything was kind of restricted. We kind of had to work around that to try to offer services, at least in some capacity. For instance, most of the library programs were virtually not offered until months after we opened. So we had to kind of transition that into virtual programming. It's kind of was a little bit of a challenge for us, just kind of figuring out how can we do this, how can we schedule this, how can we still do this in a safe manner. Media Lab Coordinator Ed was actually instrumental in kind of working with departments and helping them record everything so they could do it on their own, taking care of uploading things to our YouTube pages, doing edits, all the fun stuff that I'm not going to touch because I'll probably just break it or edit it. video of like a cat in there or something. And basically just generally trying to find creative ways to help other program coordinators. Technology trainer Angie Beasley has helped transition many of the in-person technology classes that we offer to like Zoom or GoToMeeting, so we can offer it for pretty much on the go. And that's been actually really popular, and at this point it's kind of an expected service for us to offer. Hybrid programs have also kind of hit popularity now. We do have a few things like great decisions or book discussions that utilize both virtual attendees and in person. We purchased a video conferencing camera for these kind of situations, and it's worked relatively well for those. So it's kind of cool to see that being used and actually still have everyone be able to participate. Social distancing honestly kind of impacted how we offer our sort of bread and butter, at least for the past like 20 years, which was just offering public computers, internet access printing. We had to cut down on our computers in half, essentially. At the same time, this kind of sort of forced us to meet trends that were kind of on the rise anyway, and most of that has to do with bringing your own devices. That's kind of increased in popularity, and as such, we've kind of expanded the offerings that we have, such as the aforementioned laptop kits, more hotspots. We know we've had a number of families that had students that were attending school virtually, didn't necessarily have a solid internet connection, or it was being used by multiple members of the family, so this was kind of a nice way to sort of still be able to do that in a very stable manner. It also ranged from that to things like a microphone to record podcasts, just so we could still offer something for media lab, content creation, things like that. And the other part of that was working remotely. So some staff had to work remotely here during COVID, and it still comes in handy for those that do have other obligations but still want to get work done for some reason. So we do have that as an option. Another part of this actually was also using remote assistance tools to help patrons that are using our equipment. That kind of expanded to our book an expert session, so if we do have a person that does have an issue, can't necessarily make it in, we have a way to kind of like basically see what's going on at their computer remotely and try to diagnose or fix it. I helped a patron in Arizona actually about 2 weeks ago with a laptop issue with his webcam, so that was kind of very, very convenient to use. Yeah, in closing, technology is fantastic when it works. And when it doesn't, I mean, we're here to hopefully kind of keep it working, at least help troubleshoot when it's not, as well as provide training for any new that might come up. Honestly, I'm just really fortunate to have fantastic staff who are knowledgeable and always like ready to learn, have really, really creative solutions, and generally make it look like I know what I'm doing. So that's always a plus. I really do appreciate them though, and they're kind of like the ones that make this work. Technology is great, but there's always the human element behind it, and we're fortunate to have them assist us.
I just wanted to thank Paul, and you can pass it on to your staff too. When I was appointed last fall, I'm not like the most tech-savvy person in the world, and they really held my hand through getting into the tech that I need to do this trustee thing, and I really appreciated it. And they actually spoke English to me and everything, so it all got
Oh, and I'm in the library and technology adjacent world, and I often use our library as an example of like innovative programs and services and the things that we offer, and kind of point people, hey, look what our library is doing. So it's always kind of cool to be able to say that, because we're really doing some cool stuff here.
Paul, where do you think our biggest technology gaps are?
Currently, honestly, it's our Wi-Fi system, which is the process of being upgraded. Supply chain issues have kind of delayed that quite a bit. Still basically waiting on one part right now. Once that arrives, that will be much improved. As well as basically the devices that we offer. We want to kind of have a more like a vending kiosk for laptops and things that patrons can check out as they want to.
What about patron-facing technology? Are we behind the curve in any areas?
I'm all of that we're still kind of in line with what other libraries are doing at this point. A few things we've kind of investigated that other libraries are offering are just kind of opening up Zoom and other sort of virtual conferencing software to the public, and actually just having them use our sort of licensing. We haven't got a lot of requests for that. It's something we've been investigating, see if we're open up, see if there's any takers. But yeah,
And what are we doing on the educational front for science and technology and engineering, math and coding and the like?
Yeah, we are still part of Girls Who Code. That is something we offer. I forgot to mention that. Thank you very much. That's still a huge part of what we like to kind of offer. We're hoping to expand that. Unfortunately, some of the staff that used to work here that have that knowledge have since moved on to other positions. So we're kind of trying to find a gap in terms of our staffing to kind of put that into you guys at 6.
Are we offering broader coding classes?
At this point, most of that's actually from the kids' room. They're doing a lot of stuff from scratch, which is a very basic sort of put things together. Which is a good stuff.
And we do actually have our reference and technology services coordinator in the children's services department is the person who focuses on the STEM programming for the smaller people.
Yeah.
IT
does the computer classes and equipment classes and that sort of thing, but they focus on adults.
And honestly, we've had a few programming classes in the past, Python, things like that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they weren't really well attended, so at this point we're sort of backing up to see if we get more requests.
All right, but I'm inferring, so correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like that is an area where we could, and maybe it needs some more publicity and some more advertising.
Yeah.
But it's an area we could probably beef up in for teens and adults.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks so much, Paul. All right, we will get back to the agenda. Item number 8 is new business, the letter of support for the legacy wall.
Do you want to talk about it, Julie, or are we going to go ahead to approve the letter of support for EQDG's efforts to bring the legacy wall to Downers Grove?
I'll move.
Oh, go ahead.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
Full disclosure here, I'm a board member of EQDG as well as of the Downers Grove Public Library. Just want everybody to know that. I don't know whether you would prefer that I abstain on the votes or.
I just don't see that
It's not
being necessary.
point, yeah, it's your decision, I think.
I'm sorry,
It's your decision.
I think I vote just for appearances.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the.
We're missing a second.
Oh, I seconded.
I moved it.
We both moved it.
Yeah, we both moved it.
I apologize.
Okay, it's fine.
I will second Marty's move then.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the letter of support for the legacy wall. All those in favor of approving the letter as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. All those abstaining?
That would be
I'll abstain.
All right. We have approved the letter of support for the legacy wall. Very much looking forward to that in June. All right, item number 9 is unfinished business, the bylaws update. All right, well, I will start this off. So we did talk about kind of the best way to attack this. As we mentioned in previous revision times, it's been relatively basic, just kind of bringing it up to the Illinois Public Standards checklist. But what we're looking for is, potentially a bigger overhaul of it, kind of reformatting it. So Marty had started it off, given her lengthy background in bylaws and other fun items. And since the last meeting, Bill had also provided us a really good reconciliation of kind of Marty's proposed outline versus, what the new format would look like, and kind of where there's maybe some things that didn't get translated or, put kind of back into the puzzle. So that's kind of where we're at next. I think the question now is, where do we go from here? We had talked about dividing up the work into kind of teams. But I would say in the past month, I've been looking a little bit into kind of how we want to go about this. And I'm a little concerned at the possibility of us ending up with 3 disjointed pieces of something that we try to put back together and doesn't necessarily fit. So I guess I'm wondering if there's a better way to create a bylaws, format that we can, I guess, approve as a board without it being kind of a disjointed process.
Is there a way that we can get someone to put together what we've got so far in a draft set of bylaws that we can then comment on. I think that might be a way to start on it.
After the, go ahead.
I was going to say something very similar. You know, if you get 6 or 8 people around a table trying to write a set of bylaws, it's the old proverbial, it was designed by a committee. And I personally would rather see at least not an outline, but a draft, which then we can discuss and maybe move this from here to here, or we don't need that at all, or we should add this. I think it's a lot easier if you've got something to start with.
I agree.
And I think we've got a framework for that
Right.
with the
Yeah.
things that have already come in.
Yeah. You just need to.
So my takeaway after the exchange of the document was that we were proposing a more streamlined bylaw, set of bylaws, and then moving a lot of what's in the current bylaws into policies and protocols and procedures.
Yeah.
And Marty did a great job at a first cut. And then there were a couple things that we said, well, maybe we should bring those back in.
Yeah.
So I'd be comfortable with taking the first draft, creating a second draft, and I think that's small and digestible enough where we can consume it and vote on it and pass it as a streamlined, succinct bylaw, set of
Yeah.
bylaws. And then maybe this committee idea applies more to the policies and procedures and protocols and the like.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was thinking too. I think that the changes that were made, kind of, sort of moving things around or making things more consistent, having something to look at and just go, okay, yeah, this is it, and moving some of those more complicated and policy procedural related issues to a different document, a different set of conversations will probably just help streamline our conversations.
The only issue I have with that is that if we do the bylaw piece first and leave a lot of stuff out of it that are not yet in the policies, is there an issue that we have some things that we don't have anywhere right now that ought to be somewhere? Is it possible to do the bylaw revision but then kind of approve it tentatively or something like that and go to work on the bylaw or the policy additions and approve them? I don't
I think
object
we
to
could
that.
go on record as saying these are the things that we moved out of bylaws that we are now at least temporarily housing in draft policies.
Well,
Most of those are things that we're not really changing anything, we're just putting it in a more
yeah, but we'd
logical
have to
place.
put them in at least a temporary policy.
Yeah, but I don't think that's that hard to do.
I think most of the items that we're talking about, there's at least a little something in the policies that maybe we're looking to flesh out a little more. So I think those items are covered. We just, as we get into the policy manual, and actually this revision of the bylaws is the first section of the policy manual that we will be revising all of within about the next year. So we're going to do this, then we're going to jump right into the general policy, and so we will keep those notes and hit all of those pieces as we move through the entire policy manual.
Can someone go through the list of things, my computer's dying because I just got off the plane, sorry. The things that came out of the draft that we would potentially be at risk for not having a binding policy over?
Well, I know one of the things that I had suggested moving out of the bylaws as a detailed document was the agenda.
Yeah.
So that we will have more flexibility of moving things around on the agenda as issues come up.
Let's
That's procedural.
Let's dig into the details here for a second. So these are the things that are not included in Marty's draft. And I think a handful of these, and you'll have to tell me which ones. You said let's move them back in.
Yeah.
So trustee orientation was dropped. I don't know that we're going to die if we don't have a policy.
I saw that as more of a mention of
Yeah.
part of a trustee job description. We have to
Yeah.
take an oath of office, we have to get oriented, but it's like a little checklist, not a whole.
Yeah. The role of the director was dropped. I don't know if that exists anywhere else.
That's a lot of
Your
director's job
contract.
description.
Right. So that does exist somewhere else, right? So that's redundant anyway. Ethics and conflicts of interest, I'll let you commentate.
That was something I saw as basically boiling down to a paragraph, a general description of ethical obligations, again, rather than, there were like 2 or 3 pages of very specific things that I don't think we really needed to be that detailed. I think we can do a very broad outline of the ethics, that you have to follow certain laws about ethics, and you have to avoid conflicts of interest, and there may be a couple of other things, but it's a short section.
Yeah. The officer article was consolidated. I don't have any issue with that. There's some risk on that. The meeting section was consolidated and reorganized. I think the order of business and the minutes was dropped. I think that was one of the things you said we could pull that back in easily.
We can at least pull a mention of it in, but I'm looking at bylaws as a broad outline that gives us flexibility to pivot if we need to add and subtract things quickly, or something comes up during a meeting without violating bylaws.
And then the review of the bylaws article was dropped, and that was one of the ones that you said we can pull.
Yeah, we can pull that back.
So I think of the things that we're saying got dropped and will stay dropped, we've either got covered in other places or pretty low risk. Thank you, sorry.
Yeah, some of them are covered by statute.
Yeah, right. So I still like the idea of creating a V2 of the streamlined bylaws, and then we can stand up committees to go after the other areas.
To work on specific language of sections.
Yeah, we might need to schedule a kind of
as
a workshop.
you all know, the document I submitted didn't have a lot of specific language. A lot of it was get this out of here, and instead we should say something about such and such, but without really fleshing it out. So that's something we can work on once we have the new framework.
Early on in this process, we were given a sheet that said, the title on it was Appendix C, Topics Recommended for Inclusion in Board Bylaws. Can we dispense with this?
Yeah, that was from the Illinois Public Library checklist? Or the
Yeah, that's
standards.
That is a checklist from
Because-
the Illinois Public Library
Because
Standards.
there's stuff in there that we have agreed already we don't want.
I need to go give them my lecture on policy procedures and bylaws.
Okay, I just want to,
Probably.
I'll put that at the bottom of the file.
And those are just recommended. Those are not actually, it's just things to consider. That is not actually contained as part of the standards that we are expected, to which we are expected to conform.
And the other library bylaws that I saw that either on my own or the ones that you shared as kind of examples were very much trimmed down and
Yes.
streamlined from the ones that we even had before.
Yeah.
The thing I'm still kind of poking around to see if I can find examples of some of these policy things, because I think there's still that conversation remains to be had about some of these other issues that I don't know if I've seen a good example of how other libraries have dealt with some of those policies. So I think that will still be a matter of, yes, we need to.
And procedural things are really a way of just documenting, this is the way we've always done it. There's a lot of stuff you kind of do on autopilot, but it's not really documented, and at some point maybe there's a need to say when or where that came from. So those are things that will roll out of it also.
Succession planning is important. So
Yeah.
And we do have a succession plan. This board has already passed some things, some plans like the succession plan, some procedural things like the various kinds of frameworks that we use, like our anti-hate statements. So we have plans and frameworks and some other things out there as well, and we can continue to build that catalog to make sure that we've got all these pieces coming in.
Did we agree that the order of the meeting does not belong in the bylaws? I think we decided.
Oh,
Good.
yes, for sure.
All right, so the question is, I guess, for the April meeting, do we have a goal to kind of come with like a first draft of the bylaws?
I think so.
So is that something where you might want to do
Yeah.
for us?
If we can do that in conjunction, in parallel with the strategic plan. The strategic plan is much more important in my view at this point as far as timing. But I don't want to take away from the strat plan to get the bylaws fixed, but if we can do both, that's great.
Yeah, so we do have, I think, April beforehand is our strategic plan.
Mhm.
Yeah.
At this moment, that would be the only action item on the agenda for the April meeting.
I don't see it being controversial. Once you add a couple things back in and.
Once we go back and forth a
we'll be
couple
back,
times
I think
and,
we'll be in a good position.
Yeah.
Pretty boring.
So I don't need a motion. Do we need a motion to table this until the April meeting?
Yeah,
And-
let's do that.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we table this matter, the bylaws matter, to the April meeting and request that trustee Marty.
who is going to be out of the country for the next 2 weeks.
Is that, will you still be able to do it, you think?
I'll talk to Julie, I may need some
Okay.
help from staff on it, but it'll get done.
Okay, while we prepare a second version for consideration
Yeah.
at the next meeting.
I'll second it.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to table the bylaws update to the April meeting. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. And all those abstaining. All right, we have tabled the bylaws to the April meeting. Thank you very much, Marty and Phil, for your work on it. Okay, item number 9B is the third-party investigator for personnel matter.
I'll just jump in. So after our after last month's meeting, I went back to Ansel Glink with the list of expectations that you all came up with and decided on, as you know what you want to be the result of the investigation. I also did give them the employee's name so they could do the conflict of interest check, which they did do, and everything's clear. So they provided us with a letter, which I did include in your packet. And at this point, they are ready to go once I give them the okay.
Thank you so much for going back.
You're welcome.
Do we need a motion on moving ahead with that?
I will motion to hire the legal firm Ansel Glink to conduct a third-party investigation into a personal matter.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to authorize Ansel Glink to proceed with their personnel investigation on our behalf. All those in favor, please say aye.
Point of order, I think you need a roll call on this one.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Yeah,
From-
roll call.
Trustee Doherty.
Yes.
Trustee Humphries.
Yes.
Trustee Quintia.
Yes.
Trustee Greenberg.
Yes.
Trustee Slayback.
Yes.
President Gagami.
Yes. All right, that item has been passed. We are at Library Director's Report, item number 10.
Yeah, fine, we today. This is
Very exciting. Don't jinx it, don't jinx it.
Don't jinx it. All right. In addition to my written report, I just wanted to let you know that we have been working diligently on the scheduling of the focus groups. We have, our tentative schedule is in place. There will be 11 sessions total, 9 in person and 2 virtual, starting on April 17th and continuing through April 27th. We will, the in-person sessions include sessions for seniors, parents, community leaders and organizations, board, staff, non-supervisory, staff, supervisory, and general adult for the community. We, as well as a session that will be Black, Indigenous, and people of color, and historically, intentionally, and traditionally marginalized people groups, BIPOC/HIT MPGs. And so for that particular session, we are bringing in a special consultant. Rethinking Libraries does not have a BIPOC HIT MPG person on their staff. And so we have hired a consultant to fill that role for us. And so those are getting underway. So look for all the schedules to be posted coming up.
1,500.
Which is the consultant and how do we hire?
with them?
The consultant, there is actually an EDI consultant who resides here in Downers Grove, who has actually done some programming for us. Her name is Heather Hathaway Miranda. She does a majority of her consulting is in the education space, but she has regularly done focus group strategic planning and EDI training in her practice. And so we really felt like she was the right individual.
So is that coming out of the strategic planning budget that was already approved? How are we?
No, we'll just take it out of the regular admin budget. We have a professional services line in the administration budget that is, kind of consultants for all sorts of things. So that extra little bit will come out of that.
How's the community response been so far on the?
Fantastic. We're at 1,600 responses to our survey so far, so we are doing great in that respect. So now we just need to get people to our focus groups, so that will be excellent. And as we send out the invitations, the individual invitations to the focus groups, we will also be inviting people, if they cannot attend a focus group, to remind them that the survey will remain open through the end of April. So our last focus group will be on the 27th of April, and then we will have that, will continue to be open through that weekend, through April 30th, and then we'll close down the survey. So looking forward to getting lots and lots of feedback from people. It's been, the response has been fantastic, so we're very pleased with that. On non-strategic planning things, we have received 5 FOIAs so far in March that have spanned the gamut from a whole pile of emails to a single document. So, but only one of them has required legal assistance. And then there have been 14 PITS incidents so far in March. We are seeing an uptick in our incidents with young teens. It's springtime. And nothing.
The sap is flowing.
Something is flowing. So we have also been looking at a new patron incident tracking softwares. We became aware of a couple of different options, and so we've been taking a look at those, and we actually did a demo earlier this week of something that we may actually take them up and do their free trial, because the number one thing that they have that PITS doesn't is a much more robust reporting module.
More detail?
Yes, more detail, pretty graphs, exportable to be able to make graphs in Excel in a way that just PITS just does not have.
So will we be able to import data from PITS into the new system?
Theoretically, yes. They have not done it before, but they tell us it's possible.
As
we all look at Paul is looking forward to that. Yeah. But I think that was all that I had. Oh, yeah, and it's in my written report, but in case anybody hasn't seen it, workroom renovations, we are doing great, and we are on track. They will be moving into the access services and maintenance shops on Monday.
Ooh. Awesome.
Yes, it's exciting. And then we'll get everybody out of the meeting room. They'll be able to patch, paint, clean the carpets, and have it all spruced up and ready for us to start the focus groups in mid-April, and then reopen the meeting rooms to the public in May.
Great.
Oh, good.
Schedules. All right, item number 11 is our executive session. We have
Nothing.
nothing for that. That has already been approved. Item number 12, there is no action needed for said executive session that did not happen. So item number 13 is trustee comments and requests for information.
Yeah, I want to apologize to everyone at first that I was on my phone. My computer was not participating, and so I had to use my phone to look at the agenda and had Caitlin Ansoff to have to email it to me. So I apologize for all of that. As we all know, the spring equinox was yesterday, and along with that came a lot of holidays. So there was Nowruz and Nowruz, which were the Persian holidays and Baha'i holidays. Today is Ugadi, which is the South Indian holiday, and it's also Ramadan. So Ramadan Mubarak to all of our Muslim patrons. I also was really excited about the green team and the bread tags. That's kind of cool. Is that the green team is new?
Yes.
Are they going to be doing other kinds of environmental green kind of things at the library?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
And
Yeah.
they just had a green audit by Scarce.
Oh, that's
We
awesome.
don't have the results yet.
You might get one of those Scarce flags. Have you seen those?
Mm-hmm.
Scarce gives flags out to people who do a certain amount of things. I know we got one at school, which was kind of cool. I also was interested in the DGN work study program. That was really exciting to see a student come here, so that's great. And then last, I'm just really excited about the legacy wall. I'm so excited to bring my kids and to just the joy and the celebration that it brings to our community. I'm just really excited. I'm happy that the library gets to be a host. So that's it. That's all I have. And it's.
I'm really excited we're working with Scarce because I was on the board of directors of the environmental group back in the day, I think it was 1860 something, that founded Scarce. It was actually founded with a grant to the DuPage Environmental Awareness Center, which I was on the board for. And it was so successful that it eventually spun off into its own thing, with Kate at the head of it. So I think it's very cool. I've come full circle.
Just a couple things quickly. There was a comment in the that some of our folks are going to a public library safety summit, and I looked at that a little bit. It sounds great, and I don't need more information about it now, but I'd like a report afterwards, or at least an update of what they might have learned that we can profit by as making our library not only welcoming but safe. I also want to acknowledge my conflict of interest. That's not a conflict of interest. It's simply an acknowledgement that I'm on the board of EQDG, which is the co-sponsor or the primary sponsor of the Legacy Wall. And putting my library hat back on, I am thrilled that it's going to be in the library. This is a big thing. It's going to be up on the second floor in the spine of the building. It's a wall, a long wall, a serpentine kind of wall that you walk among, and it's interactive, and it is
It's LED, so it's lit.
Yeah,
It's very attractive.
very attractive, and I think will be inviting to a lot of people in the community. The library is providing the space for it, but none of the funding. I emphasize the library is not paying for that. The community is going to pay it through the conduit of EQDG. The initial estimate of the cost is $10,000, so it's not a free thing. And the community has already begun, as have other agencies and granting organizations within the state, have begun contributing to that fund to pay for bringing it here and setting it up and all that sort of thing. So mark your calendars for the month of June, and it'll be well worth your while.
I just had two quick things. One, again, to echo what Dave said, I'm really pleased that the library is supporting the Legacy Wall coming here in June, and also the One Book, One Town program that will be happening that month. It sounds like really interesting author and some programs around that. And I'm wondering, I hate to add a new agenda item to the April meeting, but could we get a tour of the new spaces?
Oh, yeah. Yes. I was like, oh God, what are you going to say?
Maybe it could be an optional after the, you know, 'cause we may or may not.
That might be an appropriate thing to do in between the two sessions,
Oh, yeah.
because we're planning to do, the board session will be from 5:30 to 7. We're bringing you food, I promise. And then the board meeting is supposed to start at 7:30, so we could, you know, get up and stretch our legs.
Great idea.
Anything? All right. I just a couple things. Ramadan Mubarak to our Muslim patrons and community members. A couple things that caught my eye in the agenda and the department reports. Erin Linsenmeyer worked with District 58 teachers and school librarians during the District 58 Institute Day. It's another great example of the partnership of the library with our public library, and you know, the school libraries are really, unfortunately for some children, the only avenue to library access. So for us to bring our expertise to them is a wonderful thing. Also caught my eye that Downers Grove North partnership for work study. Really excited to see that. And thanks to Christine Lees, excuse me, for following up, getting us more information about the Biblioteca service contract. I feel really good about it, seeing how quickly some of those charges wrap up. And it seems like it's really an insurance policy on top of a service contract. And also, yes, Legacy Wall, the mock-ups that I've had a chance to look at look stunning, and I'm very excited to see that. And also thank you to Amanda Clank. I emailed her earlier today, but she did a program that my daughter was involved with last week to learn about local elections, and it's really nice to see some of these you know, diverse programs brought to our young kids, especially 7th graders and all the way through high school. So that is all I have.
I forgot one thing. April 4th is Election Day. Early voting is open now. All of us need to exercise our democratic obligation to vote. And after the meeting, I'll take off my library board member hat and tell you how, if you like.
And Bernal, I mentioned this being the spring holiday season. Pesach and Easter also, to those of you who celebrate those.
We have all the holidays.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is a very holiday heavy.
Spring equinox.
Yes.
All right. Any other last comments, questions?
Thank you all.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice. All right. Well, then I will adjourn the meeting at 8:28 p.m.